In this video, we want to talk to you, technical interviewer. We know that when you're scheduled for an interview, you're given the proposed exercise and a suggested answer. From this point on, there are 3 different types of interviewers, although large American companies commit in their policies to only using the third type we will mention. These types are: first type, interviewers who make the candidate's experience so difficult that they either want to see them fail and force them to fail just for the sake of it, or they don't care if the candidate succeeds or fails because, having worked at the company for over 10 years, they already feel like a fundamental and irreplaceable part of the team and the company itself. In other words, they feel untouchable and that no one would put their job at risk, so they demand that candidates should know as much as they do and should execute everything as they would, or else they won't approve any of those candidates, which is incomprehensible, because if there's one thing we are all sure of, it's that when they were candidates for the last time 15 or 20 years ago, the interviewers who approved them weren't equally indifferent or extremely self-sufficient when interviewing that one who is the interviewer now. Sometimes it seems they enjoy making a candidate suffer, a candidate who has pinned all their professional and financial hopes on getting that job. We call these types of interviews God complexes because they don't seem to feel good unless they mistreat and denigrate the candidate. The chance of a candidate being hired by this type of interviews is 0%, unless the candidate comes from a boot camp, in which case even if the interviewer gives them a bad rating and negative report, they will still be hired. The second type is the interviewer who either appears ignorant to the candidate because they intend to confuse them, pretending the candidate doesn't know the answer and seeing if the candidate makes a mistake on their own, or because they genuinely don't know how to solve the problem and need the candidate to constantly explain and justify everything they do. This is because they either don't know how to write the code in that language and might confuse the candidate with the solution the interviewer already has in mind. We want to emphasize that you, as interviewers, already know the exercise you'll ask the candidate when you schedule the interview, and you already have a proposed solution provided for your own department. However, that proposed solution isn't the only one. If the candidate suggests a better one or an equally good one, you are morally obligated to accept the candidate or invite him to the next stage of the hiring process. If you don't understand the proposed solution, but it works perfectly when you test it, please don't make a fool of yourself and don't reject the candidate simply because you don't understand his solution. We remind you that you should always assume the candidate is recording you, and if you were to be exposed for unfairly rejecting someone, the consequences you would face would be so severe you'd never want to experience them. Third type. This is the type of interviewers that every large company claims to have on its social media, the type they commit to guaranteeing in their internal policies, and the type every recruiter assures every candidate will have in the interview. This is the interviewer who pleasantly asks what the candidate is doing, the one who tries to ease the candidate's nerves and pressure by offering suggestions only when the candidate is clearly stuck on a silly obstacle. With a little help from the interviewer, the candidate will be back on track and working on the correct solution. There will be times when, even if the code isn't the most efficient due to time constraints, the candidate can suggest improvements and demonstrate their extensive knowledge of the subject. In cases like these, and in cases where the candidate performs exceptionally well, this interviewer will always accept the candidate and approve their hiring.
I'm thrilled to let you know you're admitted to the job. Wow, that's wonderful news. Thank you so much. We're happy to have you.
This is what the company you work for expects of you. No company expects you to be either the first or second type. Every time you interview someone, you're being paid to produce results. If you reject someone, it had better be because that person truly isn't prepared, otherwise, you're wasting company resources. And if you get caught rejecting someone who deserved to be hired at that moment, the company you work for will apologize in 2 ways. First, they'll restart the process with other interviews. Second, they'll apologize to the candidate by firing you. Since nobody wants that, you have to be the third type of interviewer, as the one who only rejects the really bad candidate. You have to assume that somehow, someone might be recording the interview without your knowledge, and if the recording makes you look unprofessional and highlights any inexperience or ill intent on your part, you could not only get fired, but you might never be able to work for a tech company again. We don't want that, which is why we insist that you be the kind of interviewer the company that hired you wants you to be, the third type, the one who only rejects the really bad candidate. Please, we know that even if you disagree with us, you know that if you're recorded, exposed, and sued in court, the only thing that will save you is if the evidence presented to the judge shows that you were a Type 3 interviewer. We are telling you this for your own good. If you've been a Type 1 or Type 2 interview until now, change now, otherwise you risk losing everything. Now, give us a like, share our videos on your social media, subscribe to our channel, and follow all our 2026 tips. This will also help more software engineers, recruiters, and interviews understand what's happening today. Remember, by sharing this video and the next one on your social networks, we can all work together to beat the boot camps in 2026.